Hello and welcome to episode number 64 of the Hobbies and Happies podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your host, Dan.
And I'm Jim. And today we're going to have a nice little chat with the living card gamer.
All right, so today, on today's episode, we are talking with Nelson Oliver, the living card gamer. But before we get into our chat, we need to talk about our sponsor, audible.com. If you head over to our affiliate link, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness, you can head over to our, check out our link, Audible.
That one.
If you follow that link, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial of Amazon's Audible. You can sign up for your free 30-day trial, and when you sign up, you get a free audiobook. That's right, a free audiobook. And you know what? Last week we talked about Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
Last week the book that I talked about was Crush It. If you have not signed up for your free 30-day trial, what are you doing? You need to go sign up for it and get your copy. I'm telling you, get your copy of Crush It. You need to go pick it up. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything, but you definitely should check out Gary Vaynerchuk's book called Crush It. If you are if you're an entrepreneur, a solo content creator, or even just any content creator, guys, this book will give you that push you need to just be that inspiration that honestly, like if you know anything about Gary Vaynerchuk, just listening to him talk about his book, phenomenal. It's definitely what you need. So go sign up. Again, that link down in the description below, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. Sign up for your free 30-day trial of Amazon today and get your copy of Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crush It. Do it now. All
Just right. Do it.
Do it. So, all right. So today on the podcast, we're talking with Nelson, also known as the Living Card Gamer. And you know what? We had a very, very great conversation. And you know what? Without any further ado, I'm just going to get out of the way, and then let's get right into the conversation right now. All right, and we are joined today on the podcast by the living card gamer himself, Nelson Oliver. Nelson, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you all?
Oh, you know, it's just one of those days, man. It is just one of those days. So
it's a Monday.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had my day off today, so I don't understand.
Jim's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, dude. So we've been meaning to get Nelson on the podcast for weeks, literal weeks. Am I correct in this, Nelson?
Yeah, and it was not. I had a pretty big hand in not being able to be on for a couple of weeks, so I will take some of the blame.
Yeah, so we've been wanting to get Nelson on for a while to talk not just about Marvel Champions and living card games, but you know, card games in general. So we're just gonna get started by talking about, you know, his namesake, living card games. So Nelson, the first thing I want to ask you is, you know, how and when did you get started into living card games?
Okay, so that's a fun story. So it was, I think, March of 2021 was when I first played or opened Marvel Champions, and so that kind of started the rabbit hole. Been playing Marvel Champions. I started playing all of that, and then I started streaming. So I was talking about it. I have a podcast, and I was talking about it on the podcast way too much for it to be not a specific Marvel Champions or living card games podcast. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I'm going to branch off. I'm going to start doing this, and I started streaming with D20 Woodworking, and then I was like, you know what, let's just dive in. Let's just try this. And around that point, I had bought into Lord of the Rings, the living card game. Mm-hmm. And that was before they announced all the repackaging and everything. So I was hunting around on eBay trying to find all the packages, because I'm like, if I don't buy it now, I'm never going to get it. And turns out that was just absolutty not true, because they're just sending it out to everyone.
Turns out that was a lie.
Yeah. So I think that was around September, October timeframe of last year. And then I started the channel all about living card games. I do the streaming, and then it was probably a couple months thereafter I got into Arkham Horror. And so those are the three main LCGs that I am playing today.
Okay, so you got started by playing Marvel Champions then, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Which is interesting because Marvel Champions is like the most recent living card game from FFG. So like I feel like Nelson's story is like a very atypical, but like FFG probably looks at you and they're like, yes, yes, this is exactly what we want.
Yep. It all started with, buying that core set. Now I have thousands of dollars worth of cards in my closet. So
Yeah.
FFG, I'm a patron of FFG.
Yeah. So all right, so you've kind of been playing Marvel Champions from the beginning then, correct? Roughly?
No. So I think it came out in 2019. And
Yeah.
so I jumped in.
Yeah, so when you jumped in, there was, I mean, there were a few expansions out at that point.
Yeah, so it was right before Galaxy's Most Wanted.
Okay.
released.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So when you bought the core set first, right? Mm-hmm. And then like, did you just immediately like buy everything to date at that point?
It was kind of pretty much, yes. So what happened is I bought the core set and I played through with Rhino with every single hero and different aspect combinations. I'm like, okay, I like this. And so I went back to my FLGS and I was like, I'm going to pick out the next hero. I think it was Black Widow. I don't know why I picked Black Widow. I was like, I just
Black
bought
Widow's
her.
fun, dude.
Yeah.
Black
She
Widow's
does seem
fun.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Widow's awesome. Black Widow
Yeah.
is a fantastic hero.
Yeah.
And I just ended up going back pretty much like every day or every other day to my FLGS and just picked up a different like expansion pack. And then I picked up Rise of Red Skull and it just ended up like I acquired it very quickly.
Okay, so you just said something, and I kind of want to ask you about it here.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
nothing to do with Marvel Champions, but you just said FLGS, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Explain what is FLGS? What does that mean?
Other than wrong, but go ahead.
FLGS is the friendly local gaming store.
Okay, so I've always just said LGS.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I've seen online people say FLGS, right?
They're
and
two
I'm
different
like,
things.
Because ours aren't friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. FLGSs and LGSs are two different things. It's like a square rectangle thing. It's
I get you.
yeah,
mine is very much an FLGS.
Yeah, which is great. It's I think the first time I saw the term FLGS was just like online. I'm like reading through the post something. I'm like, who says FLGS? I'm like, that's just weird. It's just, but tomato, you know.
Yeah, right.
So
that's great.
So okay. So what drew you? Like, why did you pick up Marvel Champions? Like, why did you initially get in?
So I initially got in. I bought it kind of off the theme and off the recommendation that it was kind of a better legendary. And so I played a lot of Marvel Legendary through college and kind of post-college, and then kind of drifted away from that once I kind of expanded into different board games. And I had Marvel Champions probably on my shelf shrink wrapped for about 6 months before I opened it up.
Really?
And that's not uncommon for me. I have way too many games still on shrink on my shelf.
Who doesn't though? Like, who doesn't?
And that's fair. That's fair. And it just got to one of these, and it was kind of like we were middle. I don't know where we are at in the pandemic at this point.
Yeah, right.
But it was, I hadn't done any solo gaming. My wife travels a lot for work, and so I was just kind of like hanging out, and I was like, you know what? I've heard that Marvel Champions can be a solo game. I'm going to try solo gaming, and here we are. So
okay, so you mentioned that you had heard that Champions was like a quote better Marvel Legendary.
yeah,
So-
which I think is a horrible explanation.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
because I was just gonna say like what do you think of that? Like that statement in and of itself, like whether or not it's right or wrong, like they're two very different games.
Yeah. The fact that they have cards and it's Marvel is pretty much where the similarities stop.
Yeah.
But
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I like Marvel Champions a lot more. I do enjoy deck builders, and so I think of deck builders as you're creating the deck during the actual gameplay, and like a living card game or a deck creation game is where you're building the deck putting it on the table and actually starting the game.
Right.
And I like both of those. I think that there probably are better deck builders out there than Marvel Legendary. But I do really enjoy the theme of Marvel, and so I have never really gotten into physical Magic cards. I've never really gotten into a lot of the physical TCGs or CCGs just because my self-restraint kind of would not allow me to do so. Like I knew if I started, I would not stop. And so
It'd be like that.
It'd be like that, and that's how it is, man.
Yep.
Please help me. Please.
But
And so
it's
the
a lot
LCG
of fun.
model just
it's
kind
a
of-
lot of fun, though. I will say.
Oh yeah. But the LCG model just kind of like really like kind of helped me with that. Like, okay, I don't have to buy 9 of these packs, and that helped me kind of get into it. And honestly, that's kind of why I started with Marvel Champions over Lord of the Rings and Arkham, because like Lord of the Rings, I probably enjoy the IP more, but at the time you had to buy 3 core sets. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like the same price, but I don't
If you
want
wanted
to do
to
it.
have like complete play sets,
Right.
Or have the
Right.
cards for multiple people, yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I think they're trying to. I think they've tried to fix that with the revised edition. I think, but still. So Marvel Champions, your first LCG. Is it your favorite LCG?
Yes, and it's actually not my first LCG.
Okay,
but
it's not your first LCG.
yeah.
Okay.
So my first LCG was Summoner Wars by Plaid Hat Games.
Oh, okay. So do you
Technically not an LCG because it's a living trademark term. Yeah. But
yeah. So okay. And we've talked about these terms on the podcast plenty of times before. Like you've got your term, you've got LCGs, you have TCGs, CCGs. Now, at its heart, they're all really expandable card games.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
For the most part, they are expandable card games. The difference, I think, is how you acquire and expand your card pool. Basically, okay. So Summoner Wars, it's basically like an LCG. Okay, it's just, you buy a pack or you buy a box and you have all of the cards in that block per se. Okay.
Yep.
So, and that's why like all of them, I typically classify just them as ECGs. They're expandable card games. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you played a versus 2-player card game versus 2
I have
PCG?
not, no.
Okay. No. So have you heard of it?
Yes.
Okay, so again, another Marvel themed game. Okay, with other licenses as well, and they've actually are bringing in new licenses this year with Mortal Kombat and The Boys. Very, very cool.
Very cool.
However, when they announced this game, okay, they announced it at Gen Con. Okay, what they did is they called it Versus Living Card Game. They had it on banners and everything, living card game. What they had to do, they had to tear down all of the signage because it said living card game and it's a trademark term.
Yeah.
Like kind of like if you wrote down Tapped or anything, with Wizards and Magic, right? So they had to tear down all their signage and they just wrote on, I think they wrote on like a piece of paper versus 2 PCG.
Oh no.
So that's where that name came from. I mean, the game is still around and still doing well. Like they just had a big tournament at Gen Con. So I just think it's hilarious, right? It's just it's when money's involved, crazy things happen all of the time.
All the time.
Yeah. So do you still play Summoner Wars?
I not as much as I used to, which I don't know if I could get back to as much as I used to, because they used to have a fantastic app that I would run all the time, but they just put out the 2nd edition. So Plaid had joined Asmodee. They kind of bought themselves back out and they put out the 2nd edition of Summoner Wars. And I did buy into the web-based app that they have out there. And I've played a couple of games. It's just hard because so many of the strategies that were in 1st edition don't necessarily roll over to 2nd edition. They've kind of fixed a couple of rules. And I just haven't. I've dedicated my time elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So, so Summoner Wars was your first LCG, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how soon after you started playing Summoner Wars did Marvel Champions come along?
So I probably quit Summoner Wars around 2017.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it was a while. and then started Marvel Champions in 2021. But between there is kind of when I started growing in all the other types of board games.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So would you classify yourself as a card gamer or would you classify yourself as a board gamer?
Very much a board gamer, actually.
Very much a board
Yeah.
gamer? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and like, this is something that like we've had quite a few discussions about, because like, I kind of think I think there is a not, and often not talked about, divide and stigma between board gamers and card gamers.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like that. Like it's something that I feel like it's something that both board game players and card game players subconsciously put up as a divide between themselves, being like, no, I'm a card game player. Well, I'm a board game player. Like I think at its heart, we're all tabletop players, right? It's just the things that we kind of gravitate towards just tend to differ slightly. Yeah. So which I find very, very interesting. Like in your case, Nelson, where you're saying like you would classify yourself as a board gamer, but we're talking about like LCGs and we're talking all about like card games,
Cards,
right? So I kind of want to ask you about that. Like,
Yeah.
So like, I think that's interesting. Like, how would you why do you think that is? I should say.
Why do you think there's a divide, or why do you think I
Well,
classify myself as a board gamer?
Both questions.
Both questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll start.
But let's start with why would you classify yourself as a board gamer and not a card gamer?
So I think the majority of my time is spent playing board games, and most of the fulfillment that I get out of interaction with people is through board games, right? The majority of the time I'm playing these card games is solo. And so that's kind of just been an evolution from the Marvel Champions, and then I enjoyed it and I got into streaming and just have loved that. But I mean, I spend a lot of time playing board games. I have multiple different other outlets that I promote and content create in the board game space.
Sure.
And so with all of that, I just kind of always think of myself as a board gamer.
Sure.
And like, I don't know if I need to reevaluate that, but it's just kind of been my identity since like 2011 or so.
Sure. I just find it interesting that like somebody like yourself, like how did you get, where was the pull for you towards like Marvel Champions and these living card games?
So I really enjoy the out of game experience for these LCGs and any card game. And I think that's kind of where a lot of the divide comes in, where not necessarily divide between board gamers and card gamers, but between board games and card games, right? I think there are some board games that allow you to have this kind of like mental exercise of trying to figure out what to do before and outside of playing the game. Whereas a lot of board games are, the experience is self-contained on the table, right? So if I sit down and I pull out Spirit Island or Pipeline or Great Western Trail over here, I am not thinking about those games 24/7. And there are players that do that. Those are probably way better players than I am. but like when I sit down and I play that game, that's kind of the self-contained experience of playing that game. Whereas the card games I am always trying to think and like, oh, that would be a cool combination, right? And you see this in Magic, you see this in any of the LCGs, you probably see this in a lot of the other kind of more strategic and competitive type board games that like maybe like Diplomacy or some of those that are played at these high levels that they're thinking about it outside of the games. And I think it kind of like, I've heard the term thrown around like lifestyle game. And I think that's probably kind of the more interesting category for me is like the board games or the lifestyle games. Like, do you dedicate all of your time to a number of specific games? Maybe that's 1 to 5, and that's pretty much all you think about and all you play. Or are you out here and you like to look at all of the types of games that you can play? Because I have friends that they only want to play one game, and that's all they want to think about, and they don't like board games, but they like HeroScape. And it's like they spend and dedicate as much time as I spend playing board games on that one game, and now they're very, very excellent players. But I think it's just kind of fun to kind of see that divide, and that's kind of where I think of the divide as being is like, is it a self-contained game, or is it going to be kind of taking over other aspects of your life?
Yeah. So I think what you kind of just explained sounds a little bit to me like we're starting to talk about metagames.
Yeah.
What you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
When you sit down at a board game, you just want to be able to think about that self-contained time and space and the time that you're spending right then and there.
Yep.
I don't have to think about the game at all, other than I don't have to think about it before. I don't got to think about it after. I just got to be thinking about it in the here and now, in the moment, and sharing that experience with the people at the table, right? Yep. I feel like competitive card games are very much not that way. Like there's always going to be a metagame, right?
Yep.
So you have to think about it. Like you got to prepare. Like I've played in a couple of tournaments recently, and leading up to those tournaments, you better believe I had to prepare. So yeah, like I had to prepare for the tournaments, and like I couldn't just wake up the day of the tournament like, all right guys, I'm gonna go play the tournament and do well. No, I had to prepare. But and that's, and I think like, have you heard of the World Series of Board Gaming? That's a relatively recent thing that is going on now. I think this is something that like just started within like the last year, right? I mean, they've got content creators who are going to come and like play in this game in these games, and like it's very interesting. So like I'm intrigued because I like competition, especially when it comes to card games, board games, right? Yep. More so card games, right, than board games, right? But I'm very interested because we talk so much about metagames, right? That's why I'm interested to see like what's going to happen at an event like this, to where like you're sitting down to play Catan, or there's a lot of different games that like they're gonna feature there. I'm like, how are these games going to play out when there really is no set meta? Like it's because that's just how my mind thinks. Like as again, as a self-proclaimed card gamer, right? Like it's how I think. Like I think in terms of metagames, right? And the play styles of the other people at the table, right? So it's something that that always kind of fascinates me. So, I think it's cool, like you as a board game player, but you still enjoy living card games. Like I think that's great. And like, I'm sure that there are people who classify themselves or would classify themselves as card gamers, card game players, and then still, play a lot of board games, or maybe more board games than card games, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I don't think I could ever consider myself as a board game player.
I know, same. Like I play a lot of board games.
I've been doing this stuff since the 90s, so like
Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, like just all of them. Like that's kind of like been our lives, right? Yeah. So okay, so your favorite LCG, you would say, is Marvel Champions?
I would,
yes? Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite hero?
I do. So my current favorite hero, I haven't reevaluated in a while, is Quicksilver.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Why is it Quicksilver?
So it's Quicksilver because Quicksilver is what led me to understand and know that protection, the green aspect, is actually a viable aspect.
Absolutely it is.
And
Quicksilver's great though.
All right. Are we saying for like great solo play? Or
yes,
are we...
for solo play. For solo play, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Now hang on. When you do solo play, do you do true solo or do you do solo double-handed?
Like two-handed?
True solo, perfect. Yep. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So, yeah, and protection is my favorite aspect now. Cool. And what I like about Quicksilver is... What I like about all the heroes actually in Marvel Champions is that I think the designers did such a fantastic job of making their hero kit and their abilities embody like their superpowers. Like I think that theme really comes across in the game. But Quicksilver, if you have not played him, anytime you use a basic power, he gets to ready once per round or per phase actually. And so one of the biggest downsides to playing the protection aspect is you're exhausted. If you're defending, if you're playing protection, you're probably defending in the villain phase. And so you're exhausted going into your hero phase. And that just the opportunity cost of defending in Marvel Champions is really high. And Quicksilver being able to ready reduces that, and you actually are able to be ready and going into your hero phase. And so now there are a lot of cards that help you get ready and everything, which just makes Quicksilver way more fun too. But the just having him on the table and opening my eyes to kind of seeing how protection can work is why he's my favorite.
Very, very cool.
That's going to be my next character I play.
Dude, Quicksilver's
He's
legit,
awesome.
man. Quicksilver is a lot of fun. Okay, I just want to ask you now.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think of Wolverine?
Wolverine, I'm very interested. I'm very interested.
Jim's gonna tell you what he thinks. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, I'm
This
ready
dude
to hear
sucks.
it. He sucks?
I hate him.
Why?
I hate him. So like I think what you were just talking about, they tend to do a really good job of embodying what these heroes are. I don't think his claws do that.
Yeah.
To where he takes damage, he's not like really injuring himself to do more stuff. It's someone else is attacking him and he just doesn't care. So the claws for me make absolutely no sense. And I understand life is a resource, and he starts at 10, which is low, can go to 14. But even at that point, when you're now spending 3, 4, depending on what it is you're looking to play, you're going to be eating a lot of damage. And randomly, there's going to be a lot of damage output coming in from the enemies.
Yeah.
And I don't want to drop myself going into their turn. And it's like, oh, all right, I guess I'm dead now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of him.
It's also probably not towards his play style, but also like I feel like Wolverine would be it is something towards gonna be more towards my play style. But I'm also of the opinion I'm like very cautiously.
Yeah.
I'm just being very cautious because I'm like I look at the health total. I'm like 10, okay. And then able to get it up to 14. All right. I mean, all of those other cards that they printed recently of, to quote, make Hulk better, right?
Yeah.
About the whole if your HP is 14, printed HP cost, well, those won't work with Wolverine because it's not a printed HP cost of or HP of 14. So I'm just like, there's just not a lot of life total to work with.
Yeah.
That's where I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how good it's going to be. Like, there might be somebody who builds a really great Wolverine deck and breaks it, like, which usually happens, right?
I also don't like the fact that, I don't really want to manipulate my life total in terms of micromanaging it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I would also like to see more of a tanky damage dealer as well, rather than manipulation of HP.
Yeah.
You're going to like Colossus then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Colossus is phenomenal.
I can't wait.
When we saw Colossus, we're like, that looks awesome. Colossus
yes,
looks
please. I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Can I have some more, please?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this kind of leads me into my next question here. But what do you think the current state of Marvel Champions is?
The current state as in like
as of the game, like do you think Marvel Champions as a game as a whole is in a healthy place?
I think so. I think it is. I think that we are starting to run into some issues with power creep and some of the new heroes. However, anytime someone brings that up, and I'm just gonna set myself to spike it, it's a cooperative game, so you can make it as hard or as easy as you want. So like some of the new heroes,
modular too.
It's very modular,
so
right?
modular. It's crazy.
Like I can put together something that probably anything on the table cannot beat, right? And I can put together something that anything on the table can beat. And you can adjust your scale, but and figure that out and where you want to be playing and what realm you want to be playing in. But we are seeing a lot of the newer heroes being better than I think some of the older heroes. And I think that is two things. One, just the designers are understanding how to manipulate the mechanics a little bit or more. And with that, and with an expanded card pool, right? We are getting all of these heroes that can work well, and I'm sure that, you know, we're seeing Black Widow is phenomenal now, right? She was really good now, but she plays off of these preparation cards. So every time a preparation card is printed, she gets better.
Yeah.
And so it's not just a power creep in just the hero kits. I think we're also seeing that power creep in other like heroes as well. My concern at that point is like, what's the longevity of Red Skull, or like what's the longevity of some of the earlier villains, and like are they just trying to
All right, well, you were talking about the current state of Marvel Champions, and you were talking about power creep.
yeah, right before Zoom so rudely cut us off.
Yeah, right.
Basically it all kind of boils down to the main thing that I'm concerned with Marvel Champions is how some of the earlier villains are going to hold up to the new expanded card pool. And I think that is an okay thing, because we have people who are just buying the core set. We have people who are not buying all $600 worth of Marvel Champions. And so we need villains, and we need like heroes that can take on those villains and feel very satisfying in that gameplay. And so all in all, I think that Marvel Champions is in a very healthy place. And if it power creeps, It's a competitive, or it's a cooperative game, right?
Yeah,
So.
and I'm just like with card games in general, like I feel like you're never gonna get away from power creep, because like especially if you're one of the designers from the get go, like it's something that like you just cannot help, you know, because I mean it comes with creativity, like you're trying to be more creative. And then at the same time, like one of the byproducts is, you know, just getting stuff becoming more powerful. Now, that's not an excuse for like some blatant, you know, power creeps, you know, like we were just talking about like so I was talking about one of my commander decks for Magic, right? And there's a card that I have in the deck. It's called Garrick's Uprising, I think. It costs 3 total mana, 2 colorless and a green. Okay. And it one of the things on it is your creatures have trample. Trample is like overkill. Okay. In relation to Marvel Champions. Okay. But it also has a bunch of other things that happens. It's an enchantment. When you play it, if you have a creature that has power 4 or more, you get to draw a card. And then every time a creature comes into play that has power 4 or more, you get to draw a card.
Oh, there you go.
There was another card printed years ago called Primal Rage. Okay. It costs 1 and a green, so just 2 mana. So for a 33% discount, okay, you could play this card, and all it said on it is creatures you control have trample. That's it. So
it's
like
1 mana.
For 1 mana more, I get all of these other things. Like I will take the better one. Like
Absolutely.
yeah. Need redundancy, right? So like power creep is just, it's something I feel like, especially in card games that have been around for a very long time, you're not gonna, you can't get away from, right? Yeah. And that's also a challenge. Like it's a challenge as a designer to to be more creative. And like Marvel Champions like it's not there, right? Because it hasn't been around that long. But it's definitely still something that you got as a designer, you just got to watch out. You got to be careful for sure. Okay, so you know we talked a little bit about like competitive games, right, and with LCGs, but it sounds like the way that you mostly play LCGs solo.
Yeah, so the majority of my plays are solo. Sometimes I'll stream with people. Okay, so if you ever want to stream together, let's do it.
Yeah, there we go. One of the things that like when I first started playing Marvel Champions, because I think Marvel Champions was one of the first LCGs that I started playing. I can't remember if I played that first or Arkham Horror first, but I remember the first time I played both of those games. And the first time I played Arkham Horror, my brother-in-law, who I played with, was like, "Dude, have you ever played D&D?" Because like
he has.
Because I was totally getting into like the narrative and like the story. I thought that was so cool. Yeah. Like it's just I love card games, and like I love these games that are like able to tell these stories like through cards, right? Yeah. And so like I thought it was so cool, right? But one of the things that like these LCGs do very well is like, you know, the cooperative aspect of playing with your friends and then more than playing with your friends, but just cooperating with people at the table and then like going through these different choices that you have to make, right? Yep. But one thing that they don't do a very good job at is being a competitive game. Do you think LCGs can be that? Do you think they can be competitive? Or do you think FFG just never even going to go that route? Because, I mean, I know they tried kind of with L5R, Legend of the Five Rings, a little bit. And also Game of Thrones, too. Yeah.
Netrunner.
Yes. I mean, they don't even own, like, they can't do anything with Netrunner anymore, right?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, and that was something with the license, if I'm correct, yeah. So I mean, do you think we're ever going to see another competitive LCG from FFG?
Maybe. I think that TCGs work or CCGs work so much better in the competitive space because what you'll get is you'll end up with a Doctor Strange where everyone's running the same thing, right? If everyone has access to the it's the meta game, right? And so there is a best hero, right? And I think that's why you see the longevity of the cooperative games being so much longer than that of the competitive games. Though, like Lord of the Rings was around for 10 years. You could probably not do that, or it'd be very impressive if you could do that in a competitive sense. Whereas like the TCG Magic and like the rolling windows and cards you're allowed to use and everything, I think just it makes a little bit more sense because it's not everyone has access to the entire card pool. And I think people just figure it out and can just kind of break the game pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, technically, I would argue that everyone has access to all the cards in TCGs and CCGs via secondary markets, and that's why I think.
Do they though?
If you have the money,
Dan, stop lying to us, please.
If you can pay for it, right? But I mean, that's secondary markets, like that. But again, then we have to start talking about markets, right?
Yeah,
and But that's also what happens when you take away the ability to have a marketplace like you do with an LCG. Yeah. Like, what's going to happen? Like, and I think that's also why you have people who are strictly into these games for the financial gain, right? Because they're like, there is a marketplace for these cards. Yep. Like, I might as well do so, like, try and make some money, you know, like, and regardless of what you think of. And because I know there's plenty of people who just despise card games because of there's markets. It's like, but the thing is, like,
it's one of my favorite parts.
No, right? Like, I think you're never gonna get away from it. Like in life, where are you gonna be? You have the ability to just get away and just pretend that there's no marketplace. Yeah. Right. So yeah, and again, and that's not. And I'm not trying to diminish people's, you know, opinions or feelings on it because, you know, that's not what I'm trying to do at all. So, but it's just like for us, it's something that we kind of enjoy as well. So that being said, is there a card game that you despise?
Is there a card game that I despise?
Yeah.
Ooh. Probably not off the top of my head.
Dude's never played Yu-Gi-Oh. Even Yu-Gi-Oh players are like, I hate this game.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so I haven't played a game that I've despised. How about that?
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's very fair. Now, okay, so talking about that, like I see Aeon's End behind you. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like Aeon's End?
I do. So I've only played it about 5 times though. So
okay.
My knowledge is very limited. I picked this copy up at Origins this year. So.
Oh, okay. What do you like about the game?
So I like deck building.
Okay.
And I like the cooperative nature. I do enjoy cooperative games. I mean, my favorite game is Spirit Island, and I like that because of how well, like, 2 players, and really at 2 players, if you have a group that is very, you know, communicative and understands the game, I think it can work with higher players. But really at 2 players, a lot of these games really thrive when you understand where you can help the other players. And Aeon's End is just really does that really well, especially in this box. I can't point to it, especially in this box. So this is just the box that I picked up, but already they have, I think they're called mages in Aeon's End, that like play off of each other just so well, and that's just so much fun for me.
So okay, so this kind of leads me to a good question, I think. And the thing is, like, the funny thing is, like, there's no right or wrong answer to these questions either. But is Aeon's End a card game or a board game? How would you classify it?
I classify deck builders as board games.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, so like, so what would you? How would you classify a card game then? Like, what makes a card game, and what makes a board game a board game?
I think a card game is kind of, it has that meta experience.
Okay.
And I assume Aeon's End does that at some level, but card games, I think of, there's a lot more thought and energy that goes into what you bring to the table.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what it sounds like you're saying is if there is that metagame inherent to the game somehow, that would be classified as a card game then?
Yeah.
More or less? Okay.
Yeah, more or less. And I mean, like, then you can get into like minis games,
sure,
which has that
Poker's
same
not a
thing,
card
but
game.
Nope, it's not.
Heard it here first,
game.
boys.
It's a chip game.
But Nelson, like, I and that's why I like having these conversations, because there is no set defined what is a card game and what's a board game.
Yeah,
like,
I just think you're wrong. But
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I think you're wrong. So.
But and that's why, like, I think it's interesting and fascinating. Like, so have you played Villainous, Marvel Villainous, Disney Villainous? Okay.
Yeah.
Is Marvel and or Disney Villainous, is that a card game or is that a board game?
That's a board game.
Okay. So based on what your statement about meta games and meta experiences,
oh man,
then
the competitive community is gonna hate you, dude.
there's a very competitive community like around Disney Villainous.
Yeah.
And like I would
hate
classify
us.
they do. I would classify Disney Villainous as a card game. Okay. However, we've also said, like, I don't think it's a very what did we say?
It's a casual game.
We think it's a casual game.
We think it's a casual
We think it's a
game.
casual game. Okay. But there definitely is that meta, of it within that competitive.
Some characters are way better than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just like, man, what makes a card game a card game?
Yeah.
Like, it's something that, like, it's a question that I have been wrestling with and I am struggling to answer, because there is no set answer.
Yeah.
And it's not like there has to be one either, because it's just something, it's a question that I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever going to be
I was
answered.
gonna say, what did we kind of come up with? It's like,
I
if
don't know,
cards
dude.
are used as the primary source of figuring out exactly how the game is, or is telling you exactly the route to be taking.
Yeah. So,
Something along those
something
lines.
along those lines. Yeah. But
It's
in
been a
any
while
case,
since we talked
it has been a while. So, like, I mean, Arkham Horror a card game?
The
card game.
Arkham Horror, the
Because there
card
are
game.
multiple games.
Yeah. Arkham Horror. Let's see if I can get it right this time. This one.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Got it. I would say that's a card game.
Okay.
It's in the title.
Well, right. It is right.
Yeah.
So, it's a question and a conversation that I don't think is ever going away. And you know what? I think it's always going to be a fun and interesting conversation to have with people, just to get different takes, because I don't think anyone's going to have the same answer, and nobody's going to have the same answer. But in any case, that's great. So, okay, your favorite hero is Quicksilver? Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
that is correct.
But when's the last time you reevaluated that?
I put out the video a couple months ago.
Okay.
And so the reason I say that is I do think that Ghost Spider is in the running for my favorite hero. So Ghost Spider out of the Sinister Motives box is an excellent protection hero, and she does just incredible things. She has that readying ability. She's an incredible solo, and she works in not as many aspects as well as Quicksilver does, but she works in green so very well. And so I think she has a really good shot at the title.
Okay. All right.
Out of all the characters, who would you say is best in red? For some guy maybe trying to expand his horizon in terms of characters.
So my second favorite character, Rocket, I think is best in red.
Ooh, Rocket.
Yeah. And if you build them for killing minions, and you go for like this overkill build.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And you like
Yeah,
overkill.
I do. I love overkill.
You love overkill.
It's a lot of fun. You go like looking for trouble, you pull the minion and then you kill it. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
So Nelson, I mean, listening to you talk about a lot of these living card games, it really sounds like you enjoy the theory crafting
Very much.
aspect.
Yeah.
So, we need to get this guy to play some Commander.
No, Dan, we can't let him go down that rabbit hole. We can't pull him out.
What I'm saying is we just need to give him a deck and just say, all right, here, play this deck.
Try this. A
Try
pre-con.
this.
A pre-con. Yeah.
Which there are a lot of great
The
pre-cons.
first the first sample is free.
Yeah. So I went to a Magic Fest. The first Magic Fest I went to, I was talking to an artist. I was getting him to sign like a card or something. And I was telling him like I'm recently new into the game, and he's like, I'm sorry. Like, Kish, your wallet's gonna hate you. He wasn't wrong. But in any case, but like, again, the whole theory crafting thing, like that's one of the best things about card games in general. Right. Yeah. And that's why I like playing constructed formats, right? Because like I get to build my deck before, okay? But also deck builders too, because like I'm getting that experience of theory crafting in the moment as I am playing that game. So so you've talked about Marvel Legendary, right? What are some other deck builders that you've played and had a lot of fun with?
Ooh, Great Western Trail is a good one. I really like Dominion. I mean, you got to go solid Dominion. Yep. Ascension is pretty good. It's probably not my favorite, but it's the OG river system. So you gotta go with that. Star Realms is amazing. I really enjoy Star Realms.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. There are just so many of them out there, but I would probably say Dominion. If I had to pick one, that would be probably my favorite is Dominion, just because of the modularity and just like the clean, how clean it is, how core deck building it is.
I love just being like, oh, I really like these specific cards, so I'm just going to now utilize those in the buying piles.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Have you played DC, the DC deck builder?
I have, yeah. Okay. I was not a huge fan of that one.
No, okay. Yeah. Again, we think you're wrong, but
and that's fair.
No, I think he's okay. I think that's an okay opinion. No,
I'm kidding.
I'm slowly rising up in Jim's rankings again.
It's like, this guy's all right.
I just have to say the right things just to make sure that everyone's happy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Right. Okay, so like I've never played Great Western Trail, but that is a deck builder?
It has deck building elements in it, yeah.
It does. Okay.
So it's kind of like a rondel worker placement, but you are building a deck because every time you reach the end of the trail and circle back, then it's basically whatever cards in your hand is what you cash in on. And so you're working to build your deck so that you can either have those cards to cash in on at the end or like throughout the stops that you're making, and the stops do expand throughout the game. Then this one's going to require a green 2. And if you do that, then you get an additional bonus. And so you're kind of building your deck to capitalize on the stops as well as cash in big once you hit the end.
Okay. Now, how much have you played of Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, the card game?
The card game, yes. Yep.
So today I just finished the second scenario in the second Hobbit box. And so I played through the first series, so the core, and then the 6 Mirkwood packs after that, the Dwardelf cycle, and then after Dwardelf I did the first Hobbit box. I'm in the middle of the second Hobbit box.
So you played through a lot. That's what it
seems
like.
So it was today was it was the 23rd quest is what I completed today.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite color, basically?
Ooh, I think my favorite color is probably green, but I don't think that you can run right now with my card pool. I don't think I could run without blue.
Yeah.
And this is for solo play, I'm assuming.
Solo,
Or like
yeah,
all
yeah,
of
yeah.
these all for solo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite? You have a favorite hero? I mean, there's a
favorite-
lot. There's a lot in Lord of the Rings.
There are a lot, and I am playing progression style, so I only am using cards up to the release of that scenario of that quest.
Cool.
And so my card pool is this big when in reality the entire thing is this large.
Yeah.
So my favorite hero right now, I would have to say Elrond.
Okay.
So-
Elrond's good. Yep.
Yeah, Elrond and Vilya. The combination there of being able to play the top card of your deck for free and then just manipulating what the top card of your deck is. I just really enjoy that gameplay.
Yeah, that
answered my question.
yeah, yeah. That's always a powerful thing to do.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
cards in general. So
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, so we're gonna move on to one of our favorite segments of the podcast, entitled "The Card of the Week."
Yes.
Card of the week. And Nelson was kind enough to give us this week's card of the week. So Nelson, why don't you tell everybody what the card of the week is, and then I want you to kind of give us a good story backstory of why you picked today's card.
Yep. So the card of the week this week is Friction Resistance from Quicksilver's kit. So this is a one of card in his kit. It cost 3, I believe. It may cost, I don't. Yeah, it cost 3. Cool. Yeah, it costs 3, and you can exhaust it to generate a mental or a physical resource. But the cool thing is whenever you ready Quicksilver, you get to ready this card as well. And so since Quicksilver gets that free ready, then this gets ready, and then you build your deck around readying Quicksilver, and then you just have unlimited money, and it's a lot of fun.
Have you gone off with unlimited resources?
The best strategy that I've seen is running this in red and aggression with Yarmyorn.
Sign me up.
Which is spend a physical resource after you attack to deal 2 damage to an enemy. So you just combo them. You just combo them, and you just throw damage everywhere, and it's so much fun.
Now what was the card name that you combo it with?
I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right. Yarmyorn, which is the hammer.
Mjolnir.
No, the axe.
It's the
axe
axe.
hammer.
It's the
Yeah.
axe. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a red card. It's a 1-cost red upgrade.
Stormbreaker.
It's basically Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know how to spell it.
JARN. That should get you close.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Yeah, we're
I
gonna.
will
There it
find this
is.
card.
We
Yeah.
got it. Okay. The reason I couldn't spell it is because it is spelled JARN BJORN. So Yarn
'Cause why not?
Bjorn is
Yarmyorn,
is
yeah.
probably how it's supposed to be pronounced. Okay. So it's a 1-cost upgrade. It's an Asgard weapon. It has restricted. Okay. And then says response. After your hero attacks an enemy, spend a physical resource, deal 2 damage to an enemy.
Yes.
Yep.
So, okay. So after your hero attacks, so Quicksilver attacks, okay? And then after Quicksilver attacks is when he untaps, basically, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So he untaps, then you untap Friction Resistance. So then you have Yarnbjorn in play. After your hero attacks an enemy, okay, so now you spend that, you tap Friction Resistance to generate that physical resource
Yep.
to deal 2 damage to an enemy, and then what? Because now,
that's an attack?
No, because, you just keep attacking.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
have infinite attacks.
Oh.
Well, so you can only ready once per round.
Oh, that's dumb.
But
Dang it.
but
That's right.
But he has cards in his kit called Always Be Running, which will ready Quicksilver, which readies Friction Resistance, and Yarmyorn. You do not have to exhaust.
You don't have
Sign me
the
up.
You can also trigger that. That's after he attacks, so that could be a basic or an attack event. So If you are running in red, you run his, I don't remember what his upgrade is, but he has an upgrade that gives him +1 attack. And then you have combat training. So right there, he's swinging for 3. Yarmyorn goes for 5. Stand up, do it again. You're on just your attacks with no cards out of your hand. You're swinging for 10.
Jim is sitting here like, Dan, I want to freaking try this right now.
Well, we will be recording an episode of Marvel Champions right after this.
It's a ton of fun. It's so much fun. But yeah, that combo was just so satisfying to pull off.
That is sick.
Yeah. I don't even need to play Rocket.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'll still play Rocket.
Yeah,
that does seem like a lot of fun.
But so it sounds like the crazy shenanigans that I was pulling with a Nova.
Oh man, dude, that Nova stuff was nuts, man. Holy cow!
Play this card and then draw my whole deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then not to mention you kill every single Ultron minion that's out there. You're like, oh, attack, restand, get back my helmet, do this stuff, draw a card, we're gonna kill another one, restand, get this helmet back, play another card, we're gonna draw because we now just killed the thing. I'm like,
Jim, at that point, you just go play a different game.
yeah, I'm just gonna log off.
Because basically I'm like, all right, Jim, it's your turn. Well, I can't do anything now because you killed everything. Can't you leave one for me?
Yeah, that was the thing. I was playing Ironheart. And like I needed to kill things to get my counters. I'm just like, I'm like, Dan, I'm gonna need you to let me kill something.
Literally the things that he said.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, but friction resistance is just. I remember when they spoiled Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Okay, like I remember the silhouettes that they were doing, the videos that I was watching. I'm just like, when I saw Quicksilver, I'm like, this is so cool. Just the constant tap, untap, tap, untap. I don't care if we're not supposed to say tap or untap. I'm going to say it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I say restand. Okay?
I know.
I don't say ready.
I know.
Restand my creature. My guy.
Yeah. I always say stand up.
Yeah, but friction resistance is so, because it's an upgrade. It's always on board. As soon as you play it, it seems like to me you want to get friction resistance out as soon as you possibly can.
Yep, and that's the downside of Quicksilver, right? Is if it's on the bottom of your deck and your deck revolves around that, it can be a completely different game if you draw it in that opening hand or if that last hand.
Right.
I also feel like it's not necessarily a downfall of Marvel Champions, but just it. And I don't think it's Marvel Champion specific. No, right. Yeah. Like that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think it's Marvel Champion specific. Yeah. I think it's more based around your hero that you're playing and the deck you're building. Like you got to keep that stuff in mind. Yep. Like I think what they need more of in the game, tutors. Like I think they need more tutors. Yeah. You know, and not just tutors. I don't want to see tutors printed on hero-specific cards. I want to see generic tutors that can go in any deck. Yep. Right? Now, but again, we talked about power creep, right? Like, that's definitely one of those things to where, like, that's way up there for sure. Absolutely. Yep. But I don't know.
I think it's needed. Or they're... I don't even know, because it's like in Pokemon you tend to just draw a lot of cards.
Yeah, right.
And in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's I go search for specific cards a lot of the time. Yeah. And in Magic, it's a bit of both.
It is for sure. So Nelson, what's your opinion on tutors? Do you have one? Have you ever thought about tutors in Marvel Champions?
Yeah, and I mean there are some, but they're not hero. I don't think we have any hero specific tutors outside of a hero kit. Right. So like with SPDR, we have a lot of tutors, which I think really worked well with her. So like All Systems Go is a card that allows you to go find an interface upgrade, or you can ready each interface upgrade. So once you have them on the table,
card, by the way, that's such a good
it's amazing. Card. It's so great. And it's a well-designed card. Yeah. And like, I like that, but we have Plan of Attack. Well. I'm sorry?
Ironheart also has that one's specific. And you also get a toughness token and what's the other one? Ready? Oh, yeah. So it has like 3 different things it can do on it. And depending on what level you are, then it's just like, all right, now I get all 3 of these.
Yeah. But Yeah, and we have like Plan of Attack, which is a semi-tutor card where I think in hero form you can search the top 4 cards, or in alter egos the top 7. It'd be nice to have that for like a hero specific card or something. I'm sure that they can figure out a better way to say it than I can, but there are a couple of heroes that it really stinks if you don't draw that critical card to set up.
Yep, absolutely. Do you think Friction Resistance is the best card in Quicksilver's kit?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely one that's hard to beat.
Yeah, I when I was doing my analysis of Quicksilver, I said it's probably one of the best cards in the game.
Yeah. That's definitely. I can't say anything against it for sure, because it's such a good card. So
a lot of fun.
So, yeah. All right. Well, that is this week's card of the week. Nelson, thank you so much for picking that card. Jim's gonna play Quicksilver now.
Yeah, I have to.
Good. I'm looking forward to the video.
Yeah. All right. So Nelson, thank you so much for joining us today. Nelson, why don't you tell everybody where can they find your content on the internet?
Yep. So I do a lot of stuff. If you look at Nelson All Over, that has everything. But if you're looking at this, you probably are looking for card games. That's The Living Card Gamer on Twitch or YouTube. That has all the content. I do live streams 3 to 4 times a week for the different card games, and then all the VODs are put on YouTube after the fact. So if the time doesn't work for you, don't worry, you can find it later. And then I do analysis and different videos and talk about living card games. I really like card games, but that's where you can find me.
All right. And then we will be sure to link all of Nelson's content down below in the video description. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening to the podcast, check those show notes. We will have all of Nelson's information linked down below for you all. All right. So that's all we got for Nelson. Nelson, thanks so much. And we look forward to having you on the podcast again in the future, my friend. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute blast.
Awesome. Thanks, Nelson.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Nelson. Jim, that was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it was.
That was so one of my favorite things about that conversation was when we were talking about, being a card gamer or a board gamer, and just that frame of reference and like that frame of mind. Like, I just found it very interesting that he classifies himself as a board gamer, but like we're talking all about Marvel Champions and about these living card games, and it's like, well, no, I would actually consider myself a board gamer.
Well, once we found out what he considers to be card games, it makes sense.
But you know what, though, at the end of the day, and this is a hill I'm going to die on. At the end of the day, we're all tabletop players.
Yeah.
Like, we're all tabletop players, man. Whether that be board games, whether that be card games, whether that be role-playing games, we all enjoy having these experiences around the table with our friends and our family. And you know what? And that at the end of the day, that is what matters. So I had such a blast talking with Nelson, and guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as well. And before we get out of here, Jim, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jim Morgan HNH.
And you know what? I'm sorry, but you can probably hear my dog, screaming in the background. So if you can, I am sorry about that. But you know what? You can find me on Instagram at _DJ Campbell. Actually, that's Twitter at _DJ Campbell. Instagram is Daniel.G.Campbell. If you head over to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness.com, you can find links to all of our social platforms there. Again, that's www.hobbiesandhappiness.com. Find links to all of our social platforms there, as well as YouTube, Facebook, everything you can find right there. So that's all we got for you this week. Next week, not sure what we're going to do next week, but regardless, it's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks everybody for being here, and we will catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.